Good morning. Well, founded back in 1871, Evergreen Cemetery is just as important as those that lay there and rest. Making the National Register of Historic Places back in 1993, a visit to Evergreen Cemetery's sacred ground is a walk back through time, an education, and a chance to get up close to those that helped shape our city. This morning now, we take a tour showing some of the famous people, their history, and how they are still impacting the Colorado Springs we know today.
The museum may have the artifacts, but we have the people.
Evergreen's 220 acres are now home to those who have passed on, including military heroes dating back to the Civil War, gold mine millionaires, authors, artists, and pioneers.
We're at the gravesite of city founder William Jackson Palmer, and this is probably the most important site in our whole cemetery. None of us would be here if it wasn't for Palmer.
Palmer discovered this area in 1871, creating the Denver-Rio Grande Railroad to fulfill his vision of making the Springs a resort destination.
Everything Colorado Springs is, we owe to General Palmer.
Known for this, many do not realize the tremendous gifts he gave to the city.
He gave land for parks, land for schools, land for churches, and these legacies are what we're living today. We are very fortunate to be part of that.
Another sight to see is the grave of Helen Hunt Jackson, a very famous writer from the late 1800s.
And it's ironic that this is her grave in Evergreen because it overlooks Cheyenne Mountain. Originally, when she passed away, she was actually buried on Cheyenne Mountain near Helen Hunt Falls. That's how the falls got their name.
Jackson died and was buried in 1885, but later exhumed and moved by her husband to Evergreen Cemetery after stone markers were stolen and desecration to her gravesite.
We're at the grave now of Winfield Scott Stratton, one of the notable grave sites here at Evergreen Cemetery. And probably his biggest notoriety was the fact that he's the guy that discovered gold up in Cripple Creek.
Staking a claim on the Independence mine, Stratton became Cripple Creek's first millionaire, one of the wealthiest residents to ever call this area home, and Colorado's greatest mining king. He eventually earned $27 million from the Independence, plus $10 million more upon its sale. But beyond mining, Stratton was into a lot of activities, from studying geology to woodwork.
In the wintertime, he was known as a really good carpenter, and there's still a lot of homes in Colorado Springs today that have a lot of his woodwork in their houses.
Stratton wrestled with his immense fortune, trying to give away as much as he could while still alive, helping the city but mostly supporting those less fortunate. After his death in 1902, a lot of his wealth went to start the Myron Stratton home, named after his father, that still to this day offers housing for the poor and those physically unable to earn a living. And as in life, Stratton continues to share in death, offering ample space near his monument and gravesite for burial of residents from the home.
I think the folks that were several generations ahead of us looked at the big picture and the future a lot more than we do today. I think Americans are too concerned with themselves. You know, back these guys, you know, even though they were immensely wealthy, they always wanted to give back. And these legacies they created are still with us today. How are we going to measure up against these people in history?
Well, that's the big question right there. How will we compare to the pioneers?
So generous.
Tough. Yeah, very much so. Now, Evergreen Cemetery welcomes visitors to enjoy the tranquility and beauty of the grounds, as well as the artistic composition of the monuments out there. A lot to see. But they do ask that you respect the property, walk where you'd like to, but please don't touch any stones that may appear fragile.
Yeah, definitely not.
No.
It's a really cool place, just wander around.
I haven't been there in a while. I think I'll have to head back.
All right, very cool.
Thanks.
Thank you, Craig.